Hello, I'm Steve, and welcome to part 3 of my series on Truth and Santa Claus. If you missed part 1 and 2, well, shame on you, but I'll put links to them here and maybe over here. So, those are the links. If you missed those two, go back and watch them. Otherwise, here we are with part 3, the conclusion of my series on Truth and Santa Claus. And now I've got to tell one sad part of the story. If Santa is real, why does he hide away so much? Why the secrecy? Well, it isn't the Burgermeisters, of course, although he does love that story. It always gets him going on and on about the old days and tearing apart picky details that the producers got wrong for dramatic effect. No, for one thing, he's humble. He never wanted to stand out in the limelight, and he needs his space. You can't run an operation the size of his and have press coming around all the time seeing what's going on. But sadly, that's not the biggest reason for all the secrecy. Santa hides from shame, because despite what he does year in and year out, he still feels like a failure because he doesn't get every good girl and boy everything they deserve. There are still some wonderful kids out there who are going to go without a toy, and some without much more than that. Every year he tries, but it's just too big a job for just one man, even one who does have a healthy disposal of magic at hand, and it breaks his heart. So that by the time the sun comes up on December 25th, he's just ready to hide away and bury himself in his work. And he swears that next year, he'll get to every single one. He could really use some help in that if people would do a little more to help each other out the other 364 days of the year. So there you go. I don't imagine you want to be bothered with all the trivial details, the chimney question, the deal with the reindeer, all of that. But I would like to speak a little bit more to some of the parents out there about the questions. There's this debate over whether to tell your kids to believe or not, whether to let them know whether Santa is, in fact, real or not. Well, before you decide, I want you to think about two things. One, you know that actions speak louder than words. So if you spend year after year trying to bring your kids joy and happiness while not taking any credit for it, in fact, letting someone else take credit for it, what do you think those actions will say? Sure, they might experience a taste of disillusionment somewhere along the way, but more than likely, rather than seeing Christmas as a balanced sheet of practical giving along the lines of an allowance, they're likely to want to get in on playing some of the Santa action themselves, the way I did with my sisters. Because they won't have learned greed, selfishness, and avarice. No. They'll have learned kindness, generosity, and giving. And second of all, just who are you to decide what is and what isn't real? Are you still confusing the idea that something is fictional with the idea that that same thing cannot also be real? You go read John Green's The Fault in Our Stars. Hazel, Grace, and Augustus are both fictional characters. Does that mean that they are not real? If they're not real, no one will have shed a tear over them, because why would you cry over something that wasn't real? And yet I assure you, there are buckets, no, rivers of tears that have flown for Hazel and Gus. Romeo and Juliet, fictional, yet for over 400 years, they have moved the hearts of young romantics everywhere. Those are real reactions felt by real people. How could they be caused by something that was not real? And 400 years is nothing. Hercules has been stirring the blood of young heroes and aspiring adventurers for almost 3,000 years. Would we care about a man like that if he weren't real? Fictional characters walk among us every day. Many of them will outlive us and make more of a real difference in the lives of real people than some of us working our mundane jobs every day. They're real, all right. They make a real difference. We should all be so lucky. How did I come to know all this, to understand things this way? I really can't say. But you might remember a scene in the Tim Allen movie The Santa Claus, where his kid points out the monogrammed pajamas that he receives have the initials SC for Scott Kelvin, and that's just the same as Santa Claus? I'm just Steve Clark. Draw your own conclusions. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And don't forget to be awesome.